From the Daily Mail, Supreme Court rules on Trump's total ban on transgender troops, saying, yep, a huge win for Trump. The Supreme Court ruling lifts a lower court's decision to pause Trump's policy, which the administration called dramatic and facially unfair. The order allows the DOD to continue removing trans service members from the military and denying enlistment while lawsuits continue in the lower courts.
Yeah, so we're still going to hear it in the, what is it, the Fifth Circuit? The one in Louisiana? Yeah. Is that the Fifth Circuit?
Well, Trump's policy is sound. Okay, first, gender dysphoria is a DSM-5 mental disorder. That is the academic description. Because it is, it allows people suffering from gender dysphoria to get prescribed medications. Were it not a mental disorder, they could not get prescribed medications or surgeries. Donald Trump is saying, we are adding a mental disorder from the DSM-5 to the criteria that will bar you from entry. There's a bunch of others, schizophrenia, for instance. There's a bunch of mental disorders. There's like 44, I think. Yep. This is just one of them. The lower courts are basically telling the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and I should say this, this judge literally wrote all means all, saying you can't discriminate against a person for this reason. That means that the viral meme that came out of this was a bipolar paraplegic must be allowed to enter the military and go through basic training, which is impossible. Trump's policy is sound. What he said was, if you are diagnosed with gender dysphoria but do not exhibit symptoms, you are fine. But if you are exhibiting symptoms, then you're out. That means if you're a man who dresses like a woman or is undergoing treatments and chemicals and whatever it is, then they're going to discharge you.
Well, and a lot of people go into the military and then decide they're trans, and then the military pays for it.
Yeah.
One of the people who brought suit actually transitioned in the military. Was in the military for like 19 years. So this case went to Washington, I think a court in Washington that put on the nationwide injunction. The Trump administration appealed it to the Fifth Circuit. The Fifth Circuit did not lift the injunction. So they did the emergency application to the Supreme Court that lifted the injunction while it's being heard in the Fifth Circuit.
There is no topic more absolutely insane than things like transgender people in the military. The transgender issue overall is just a complete and total insane topic. The fact that we debate this is mind-blowing.
It is kind of, yeah.
Look, to my Canadian friends, I know we made fun of you quite a bit tonight, but I have to admit, the United States is a largely unserious people as well. We may be tougher than you because we did elect Trump
twice.
Very
fine people on both sides.
Yes. You are a silly people. We are also a silly people, but slightly less, to be fair.
Admiral Rachel Levine.
Oh, also removed, right?
Thank God.
I don't think so, because they're in the... He's in the National Health
He should never...
I thought there was a ruling saying Trump could fire...
I saw something about that, and it appeared on a lot of people's Twitter posts, and I couldn't actually find it in real life.
Yeah, you're right. I'm looking for it now. I see nothing.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of Twitter posts. It was just a bunch of people who were really excited about it.
No, I think people might be saying this. This ruling would allow Trump to fire Rachel Levine.
But Rachel Levine is in the health service.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't think it matters.
And already is fired.
Thank God.
Right? Because they're not the deputy or assistant health and human services secretary anymore.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, he's still
Levine
in the military,
is not in the government.
Yeah.
But it's like a first admiral in the some sort of health service.
First 4-star female admiral.
Right. Yeah.
Not even female. Insane. Crazy person.
But they said female. They kept saying
that's what
female.
they said. First 4-star female admiral.
I don't care.
It's just lies.
Yeah.
How sick of being lied to are you?
But here's the thing.
Anymore.
We joke and laugh about it. 50 to 100 years from now, if the woke win, no one will know this is a man.
No.
Because they rewrite all the articles to say she and her and first female.
Well, yeah, you have to be careful about that and not lie. I mean, you just can't lie. So
they even remove
ridiculous.
Rachel Levine's name is removed from the Wikipedia.
Right.
Look, if I changed my name to Phil Labonte, the Wikipedia would say Phil Labonte, born Timothy Poole. Mm-hmm. But if you are trans, they remove the history of your name.
Well, and they make it like illegal for you to use the person's name. You know, they do that too.
Look, there was
absolutely out of control.
I tweeted this just like yesterday or earlier today. There is a fairly famous trans woman that is saying the batshit crazy thing of if you don't like trans women, you don't like women.
Tweet on that.
That is not even within the realm of sane. That is so crazy.
No.
And that is why the trans movement is going to fall apart. You are not going to get lesbians to accept that they must have sex with a person with a penis.
The only way
it's insane.
I had a friend when I haven't talked to this person since this point. I lost a friend over this. Man, this is probably 10 years ago. She was saying that trans women are women and trans men are men. And I'm talking to her and I was like, well, I mean, you know, the trans woman is a trans woman. And she's like, no, they're women. And I was like, but come on, like, you know.
And what are they transitioning from?
I was like, you're not saying literally. And she's like, yes. And I was like, so you like men? She's like, yes. And I'm like, so you would be in a relationship with a trans man? She's like, yes, it's a man. And I was like, but they got lady parts. She was like, so? And I was like, are you into that? She was like, I could learn to.
Oh.
And then I was like,
oh my God.
So you're into conversion therapy. She snapped. And then she was like, what is wrong with you? Why are you even bringing this stuff up? And I'm like, you were bringing it up and I'm just having a conversation with you. And that was the last time we ever talked.
What's wrong
That
with
is crazy.
you? She asked what's wrong with you? She's the one that is actually making the insane statements.
I just told her she was gay.
I was reading some articles recently about ending gender affirming care, as they call it, and then a separate bill about conversion therapy. And I started to get confused because I was like, aren't they the same thing? But there's actually a lot of news organizations now, to your point about like they don't say trans woman anymore. It's just woman. A lot of news organizations like the Washington Post and Politico have gotten away with all signifiers of someone being transgender. So you're not allowed to say biological man or biological woman. You're not allowed to say identifies as or born as, because it all implies that the person is not actually the gender that they claim to be.
Guess
I'm
what?
going to start
They're
referring.
Guess
lying.
what?
It's just lies.
Yeah.
I'm going
That's
to.
how you end up with this female,
Yeah.
female, woman teacher rapes student.
Well, here's the
like,
problem.
didn't
Conservatives will say a transgender male to mean a guy who wants to be a woman, but to a liberal, they're hearing a trans man who's a female who wants to be a male.
Because you have to do mental jumping jacks.
I'm gonna say from now on, I'm just gonna refer to when someone is female and then undergoes, drugs or surgery to appear male, or if they're male and do the same thing to be female. I'm gonna call it conversion.
It is conversion, yeah.
Yeah. So you're undergoing conversion.
Well, and the
conversion
other thing
treatment.
too, like, did you see? So Robert De Niro's 29-year-old son came out as trans recently, and was talking about how when he was a kid, he never heard anybody say that he was just right, just the way he is, and that if he'd heard that, then he would have felt better about himself coming out as trans. Maybe he would have come out trans sooner. But being trans is thinking that there's something wrong with you. Otherwise, you wouldn't need to take a bunch of weird drugs to mess up your whole body.
I saw a great picture of Robert De Niro and his kid and Clint Eastwood and his kid. Clint Eastwood's kid is a normal dude.
No, he's a man.
Gorgeous.
Well, yeah, he's a man, yeah, but he looks
a very
totally
handsome
normal.
guy.
And Robert De Niro's kid is obviously an insane person.
And obviously an insane person, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so many of these insane children in Hollywood.
Yes.
Well, Bill Maher made a great point. He said, what are we doing? Because it's not happening in Ohio, but it is happening in California.
Well, it is happening in Ohio. It's happening all over the place.
He's pointing out the numbers.
Yeah.
In California, it's like 30%. In Ohio, it's like 2%.
Well, apparently Virginia
fair
has the
number in
highest.
Minnesota.
Virginia has the highest per capita trans rate in the country. Apparently,
Is that because of all the private schools in D.C.?
I think it's probably like a Nova thing.
Wait, was
I don't know. I think it might just be
Northern
that
Virginia.
I do think a lot. There's two big components, and they're different. I don't think men and women become trans for the same reasons.
No, I don't.
I think
That's 100% true.
men. There's either fetishists.
Yep.
like Leah Thomas.
Yes.
There's legitimate dysphoria, which, some people, whatever that issue is, they have the dysphoria. And then I also think that some of it is a hormonal imbalance, which may cause the dysphoria.
Like a lack of testosterone.
Low T guys. And
So they don't feel like masculine enough, so they think they must be women.
it's not that, it's that they're very low testosterone and very effeminate, and they behave like women.
Yeah.
And then people tell them, you must be a girl. And because they're agreeable and low T, they say, okay. For trans men, people who are female, I think a lot of it is growing up in a society that demonizes femininity, tells women to be bosses. We in the United States tell young girls to succeed, you have to be a CEO, not a mom. And so when they're growing up, they are being battered over the head socially with be a boss, be a CEO, be independent. And many of them internalize that.
A lot of it is also sexual trauma. A lot of young women who experience sexual assault or persistent harassment in childhood use transitioning as a way to get away from the female body, so they're no longer attractive to people who would take advantage of them.
I think that's what happened with Ellen Page.
I think that's probably right.
I was reading a part of Elliot's book, and the story very much is that she was mercilessly abused in Hollywood and raped. And then she talked about it in the press, how she was beating herself and self-harming. And then this was her out. And you see
but
this,
it's just it's an advancement of the self-harm.
Yeah, right.
It's like the peak of self-harm.
And then it's a stay away from me. I'm not for you. Can't touch me now. You don't want to touch me. It's sad.
Right.
And I think of it like with anorexia or bulimia. When we see somebody's anorexic, we say, stop. Like you need help. You need treatment. We're going to help you. But with a lot of these people who are suffering from dysphoria or trauma, like you're describing it, people clap and cheer them on.
Yeah.
Say, come on, do it. And it's like, geez, man. It's like telling a person on a bridge to jump. It's messed up.
It is messed up.
That's what the liberals do because for whatever reason, they're on the wrong side of everything. So,
including euthanasia, like in Canada, if we just go back.
Oh, yeah.
By 2027, the mentally ill will be able to request government-assisted suicide to cure their suicidal ideation.
Did you see the nonverbal woman who was trans? Okay. She couldn't speak, and they decided she was trans. There's going to be an individual who's nonverbal and go, what's that? You said you want medical assistance in dying? Well, okay, I guess.
Well, in Quebec, what they're doing now is you can do an advance directive. So if you have dementia, you can tell your doctor that at a certain point you want them to kill you, and they will just take that as future permission and just carry it out at some later point.
A slippery slope.
It's not slippery. It's like we're right there. I mean, we're at the bottom of the slope. We're
on the ground.
We
the slope is gone.
all the way down, and here we are. New York, the New York Assembly just passed medical assistance in dying. I wrote about that for the New York Post. Full-throated opposition to such horrors.
Jeez, man.
I mean, imagine having a condition where like 70% of the time you can cure it by running and touching grass, and you're just like, nah.
Well,
My doctor
also in
needs to kill
Canada, you can request MAID for non-fatal, incurable, non-terminal, incurable conditions.
Like
wow. It's crazy to me is
Cerebral
that
palsy.
I think we're gonna. One of the reasons that I think they're introducing MAID is because they know they're going to have a wave of purposeless, depressed people, and it's going to be a lot of atheist females who are single and childless. And they're gonna say, here's your opportunity, medical assistance in dying.
Because that would be a huge strain on the health service, which is government run there, and there's no kids to take care of them. So
yeah, Chelsea Handler said she was happy.
Sure.
I don't know, man.
Chelsea Handler said she was happy.
She's also the one
That's why
who said
she's
she
always
likes
screaming.
to wake up on Saturday and get high and masturbate.
Yeah.
And then go back to sleep.
Pretty bleak.
It seems really sad and depressing. If that were my life, I would find that sad and depressing.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.